Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show, and I am your host, Ron Johnson. We're going to bring my producer in at some point. Sam Ekstrom is his name. Basketball is his game. Maybe. Hating on Kirk Cousins is kind of his game, but we'll save that for a different day. But draft, NBA, last night, Timberwolves looked a little Vikings-ish. There was some trades. It was some trades to the point where I thought Jake LaRavia, I don't even know how to say his name, LaRavia, what is it? Jake LaRavia. I'm going to go with that. I thought he was a Timberwolf. I liked the pick. And then I realized, you know what? They traded with Memphis. But here's who they got. Walker Kessler out of Auburn, 7'1". He played with the other top Auburn pick. And then they also went and got Wendell Moore Jr. I really like that pick. I watched a lot of Duke basketball. Why? Because of Pablo Banchero. I don't know where Coach K found this kid, but Coach K landed the number one draft pick in the NBA. If there was any team that he could go to, and if there was any player that they should have gotten over Chet Holmgren, the Orlando Magic, I'm okay with Pablo Banchero because from after that Final Four run, I said he was the best player in college basketball, and there he is. But as I bring Sam in, before we jump into this Timberwolves reaction and what I think, and what does Sam think, we have a word from our sponsors.
BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering info, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net, fastest and easiest way to check in on your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Travelers Championship this weekend. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
You look at what the Timberwolves got, and here's my take. You look at Cat, the big center, 7'1" guy. He's definitely not going to take Cat. He's not better than Cat. This is what I think, though. If you want to go him at center, Cat at the 4, you have a really big lineup, and then you go 2 6'5" slashers and Wendell Moore Jr. with Anthony Edwards, and then you throw D'Angelo Russell. What do you get out of that? Well, you got Wendell Moore, who played forward in college, can guard anybody on the court that's about 6'9" down to 6 feet. I mean, if you watch Duke basketball, between him and Paolo Banchero, they had a really good season. They just could not get it done in the end. But Wendell Moore Jr. is a guy that can will his team. He's a slasher. He's not afraid to finish with the opposite hand. He uses the rim as another kind of post where he goes under the rim and uses that to stop the shot blocker from getting it, and he kind of can cradle it under. I mean, that North Carolina game, he kind of came back to life, willed them back into the game, has a really nice step back three at the top of the key. He's a guy that can bring the ball up the court. So if you put him at the point, because in today's basketball, you don't really need a true point guard anymore if you just have a bunch of guys on the court that are going to play well together. If you go Wendell Moore Jr. at the point, you go Anthony Edwards at the 2, and then you now have some other pieces in there like Cat at the 5. Now you have a different type of lineup. You got a 6'2", 6'5" guards, where if you're playing a team with a smaller guard, post them up. I mean, you got to use that to your advantage. That's what teams do to Steph Curry. When Steph Curry's on somebody, if they have a bigger body on them, they put them in the post. That's what you can get. Not to say they're going to beat the Golden State Warriors, but I like that pick. There's one thing, though, that I was a little bit thrown off with. When you get 2 picks, I look at the Warriors, for instance. They got a really nice pick. Kid, he went and played for his dad at a small school.
Patrick Baldwin.
And this is the thing about him. He's long, 6'10", was the number. He was like top 5 recruit coming out of high school, but, got injured. Would have been a lottery pick after his freshman year, and then gets injured. And so you think about that. That's going to be probably one of those picks we look back on is like, man, I can't believe everybody passed up on this guy, and the Warriors found a way to get him. Another pick that I like was the Jovic kid, Nikola Jovic. When you watch his tape, I mean, you talked about earlier yesterday, you talked about the movie with Anthony Edwards.
Hustle.
And was it Bo? What was his name?
Bo Cruz.
Bo Cruz. That kid reminds me of him. Like when you look at his game, his ability to shoot, 6'11". I mean, has a long wingspan as well. Like the kid plays fast. Like you watch his – not his highlights of the draft. You go watch some because his games are loaded. That's another one. I'm like, man, why did the Timberwolves get him? Like you have 2 picks. You don't need the 7-1 bruiser. Go get you a 6'10 swing guy. You're in the West. I mean, unless you're truly going to put this guy in the game to go against some of these bigs, no, let Karl-Anthony Towns deal with the Joker, and then you bring in not baby Joker, but you call this kid like cousin Joker, whatever you want to call him. Kid's nice. Kid can shoot 6'10, 6'11, and can knock down the three. Like, I don't understand why people continue to pass up on these guys, and then we're going to look back and say, man, I wish the Timberwolves had got Nikola Jovic. Like, this kid's good. Because you already have Anthony Edwards, you have Karl-Anthony Towns, you could have got Wendell Moore Jr., and then you could have got Jovic. Like, that's who I would have gotten. Nothing against Kessler. We'll see. Maybe he is the answer down in the post, but that's kind of my thoughts.
That's interesting because now someone can correct me on Twitter if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that Tim Connolly, the new president of the Wolves, is the same guy that drafted Jokic in Denver, or at least had a big part in that draft. So if anybody understands the value of like a Serbian big man, it's Tim Connolly.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. That's a good point, Ron.
And he was picked right after.
Yeah. Yep. Is this the next Giannis? Is it the next Curry? Is it the next Clay for the Wolves? But I do enjoy both of these picks for the following reason. I could see them both having a role this year. And I think in a year where the Wolves really have to win, I mean, this is a winning expectation this year for sure, probably better than a 7 seed, maybe even home court advantage is the expectation this year. I could see Walker Kessler having a very nice niche coming off the bench, providing defense, which this team is constantly looking for, providing rebounding, and just providing front court depth. And you don't need to be super refined when you're 7'1", and he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, even if he can't shoot threes yet, he's on 20% at that. It's okay. Like, I know we all expect big guys to shoot now, but he might be very, very effective in the paint. So I think there's a niche for him. And Wendell Moore, I mean, this isn't some young, raw 18-year-old. He played 3 years at Duke in the ACC, and he, at times, you know, with Ben Caro, carried that Duke team to the Final Four. So this is not a young guy with, like, we're hoping that he develops in a couple of years. I think he might be ready to contribute this year in one of those 3-and-D kind of roles. So I like that these guys can probably have an impact right away and help these Wolves this year win and give them some of the depth they were looking for.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, that's where I really like the Wendell Moore, because Duke players, like me, even down to Tyus Jones, they seem to be very NBA ready when they come to the NBA. Like, they seem to be pro ready. They seem to have a sense of, you know, plus minus. Like, you look at Tyus Jones, you look at his brother Trey Jones. Like, they have a really good plus minus type of game. You go back to, you know, I mean, not to say Kyrie, he wasn't there that long, but a lot of Duke players, when you're around Coach K even for a second, it seems like it rubs off when they get there, because Coach K has that old school USA basketball, you know, mindset of, I got to get these guys ready to be pros. But again, I do like the defensive side of that pick with Kessler. And I do like the fact that he's 7'1". You did bring up a good point of depth. That was kind of the thing when Cat went to the bench. We were wondering who's going to be that next guy. When Cat gets almost in foul, like first, second foul, maybe you bring him in, you leave Cat in at the 4, and now you can put him inside to deal with some of the slashing guards, to deal with some of the protection, you know, getting blocks, allowing Cat to stretch out and truly be a shooting 4 like he wants to be. So, yeah, so I could see him coming to contribute. When I saw those highlights of Jovic, I'm like, oh, man, like, why not? The kid is fast. He's a slasher. He can shoot. Like, the Heat are ready. The Heat went and got him. And you look at the Celtics. The Celtics were in the finals, and they're still talking about, we need points. And who are they looking at trading for? Bradley Beal. All of a sudden, they want to get rid of Marcus Smart and bring in Bradley Beal. Like, teams are always trying to find a way to put more points on the board. Why not go get a Nikola Jovic? He's points. He's points with a team that he can be your 3 at 6'11". He can be your true 3 at 6'11". Anthony Edwards at the 2, D'Angelo Russell at the 1, Karl-Anthony Towns at the 4 or the 5, and then you go find you a 4. Or Wendell Moore Jr. in there. Wendell Moore Jr. at the 2, Anthony Edwards at the 3, you know, Jovic at the 4, Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5. Like, That's a nice death lineup. That's a bunch of shooters. That's 5 people that can put the ball in the hole. Like, you can spread teams out like the Warriors. That's just my take, though. I mean, hey, it might not happen that way. The Bears even over. He's like, man, look, I'm done. Like, I had too many beers tonight. I'm done.